Hello, my name is Allison Carmen, and welcome to my podcast, 10 Minutes to Less Suffering. Today, I want to speak to you about being quiet. I want to speak to you about taking the time to quiet the noise outside of you and the noise inside of you, so you could have the experience of hearing yourself, of hearing your truth, of hearing what works for you, of hearing what doesn't work for you, cultivating patience and an openness to what life has in store. I often believe that the universe sings to us. It guides us, it gives us clues, and I know I've talked about this in other podcasts. But if we don't have this quietness within us, we often can't hear the signs and the signals of where to go, what to do. And we also can't hear ourselves, we can't hear our likes, we can't hear our dislikes. We just keep getting inundated with what the world tells us. And it becomes a very painful process after a while, because if we don't hear ourselves and we only listen to others, there's a good chance that we're going to start to feel dead inside, disconnected, not happy with our choices, lonely, because everybody in life likes different things and everybody has a different path. This reminds me of a story of a client I had that wanted to leave his job. And he wanted to leave his job for a very long time. But his parents always told him, don't leave your job. You need your job. You can't give up the money. That's a really great job. And his friends would say to him, you can't give up that job. That's a great job. And so he'd stay at the job. And this job was wearing on him. But everybody around him was telling him he needed to keep the job. And he started to develop acid reflux. And he started to develop anxiety. This lasted for many years. So one day he comes to me and says, what should I do? And for me, the minute he asked me, it was all red flags, because he had told me, my father thinks this, my mother thinks this, my girlfriend thinks this, my friends think this. And at the same time, he was telling me how unhappy he was. And he wanted to go back to school to be a doctor. And he was older at the time, and everyone was like, that's impossible. But that's what he wanted. At least that's what he thought he wanted. So he wanted my opinion, what he should do. And there have been many times in my office where I've made lists with people, I've discussed endlessly choices and opportunities and possibilities and fears and insecurities. But there was something about this guy that made me say, you need to be quiet. And the outer world, the good money, the good pay, the vacations, your parents, your friends are leading you in a direction. I'm not saying it's the wrong direction, but until you're quiet, you won't be able to hear yourself. And it's funny, he said to me, this is what I'm paying you for. I've waited weeks for this appointment and you're telling me just to be quiet? And I laughed. And I said, yes, that's what I'm telling you. That's what you need. You need quietness. You need stillness. So we talked about different types of meditation, and he was able to go to a local center where they had yoga and they did meditation, and he started to meditate and he started to do yoga. And for a month, he meditated every day, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And after 30 days, he came back and he said, Allison, he said, I had a moment on the 20th day where I was able to be quiet for a few minutes, and I could feel myself. I could feel who I was. I could feel how my heart was beating. I can't explain it, but it felt so different from how I feel every day. And I felt myself calling me. And I don't know what I'm going to do, but it felt so much more peaceful to be in that place than it does listening to everybody else outside of me. And it took him a while. It took him another 6 months before he was able to cultivate the strength and resilience to leave this job. And he didn't go become a doctor. He ended up getting a job at a not-for-profit, which he found very fulfilling. But when I spoke to him after he took that job, he laughed. He said, it was the best advice I ever got, was to take no advice and to listen to myself. And he says, I still meditate, and it's only in those moments where I could hear myself. When I hear myself, I get a sense of how I want to be. It's almost I get a sense of how I want to walk, how I want to talk, what do I want to eat, what do I want to say. He says, I could feel me. And when I feel me, I feel so much more peaceful than when I'm listening to everyone outside of me. It was such an interesting experience to watch somebody have so much stress and anxiety and worry listening to everyone around them, and then spend the time to get quiet and feel something else. And sometimes I could go days where I'm not quiet. And on the fourth day, I'll sit down and take a breath and I'll be like, where have I been? It's so easy to lose ourselves in the outside world. And it's not that it's bad. It's not that we're not having fun. It's busy. There's all this energy. We're doing all these things, but it kind of revs us up. And I find after a while, the outside world has more influence over me. Someone could say something and I can get hurt more easily. I could get stressed more easily about something at work. I could overreact to a situation that I'm not happy about. I could eat food that is not good for me. I could do all these things that are fine, but they're not always best for me. But even worse than that, I feel like revved up. I feel that the outer world, the energy of the outer world is how I'm operating. Yet on that fourth day when I saw this and I was able to go back to myself and be quiet, I could hear myself. And I could hear the universe sing to me, and I could hear my vibration. I could feel my pace, and I could have more of a knowing, and I could slow down, and everything starts to look differently. But it's only through that quietness that I could hear me. And that's what happens. Without the quietness, we only hear everybody else. And then we hear our reactions to everybody else. And we don't realize that reactions are just sometimes nothing to do with how we really feel. But when we're quiet, that's when we could understand ourselves better and be more responsive to life and make better decisions. Some of us don't even realize that if we just quiet down, we'll know so much more about ourselves. And we'll know so much more about what we want and who we are. And most of all, we'll cultivate more peace. Because the outside world can't know us as well as we know ourselves. So if we're always listening to the outside world, how could that be peaceful? If we have no space and we're on overload, how can that be peaceful? And I find in my own life when I can cultivate that peace and that quietness, I sometimes even do more. So it's not like be quiet, do less. It's be quiet, get to know yourself, cultivate that peace, and make better decisions for yourself. And those better decisions might be working more, it might be working out more, it might be going out more, it might be going out less, who knows? But you will be singing to yourself instead of the noise of everyone around you telling who you are, what you should like and what you shouldn't like. And that quietness also gives you strength. It gives you strength to be an individual. Wear what you want, do what you want, say what you want. And I'm not talking about hurting people, but it's about letting your individuality come forth. Come forth with power, strength, and beauty. And let the world know your talents and your gifts. And really make a difference in every day for yourself and those around you. So believe it or not, it's through your own quietness that you cultivate your greatness. And through your own quietness, you get to know the most important person in your life, which is you. From birth to death, you are with yourself, and most of us don't spend the time to really get to know ourselves. So if you want to de-stress, let go of anxiety, let go of pain, know yourself more, make better decisions, have better relationships, find a way to be quiet. You could meditate, you could do yoga, you could just take breaths, you could take a walk, you could work out, whatever allows you to be with you in the quietness of you is the beginning of your expansion. And it's really a better way to live. So I hope you'll find a time each day, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, to just settle down and sit with yourself. And when you get to know this person, you'll learn to love yourself more, accept yourself more, embrace yourself more, and create a plan for your life, an authentic life, a life where your individuality stands out and where your heart will be filled with the essence of who you are so you could create your best life moving forward. Thank you for listening to this podcast today. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you could email me at allison@allisoncarmen.com. If you'd like to buy my book, The Gift of Maybe, it's available at all major bookstores and online retailers. And if you like this podcast, you could also subscribe on iTunes and leave a comment.